It's that time of year again, the time of year for those dreaded New Year's resolutions. So the question is, what are your financial New Year's resolutions? Stay tuned this week's episode of the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income.
Welcome to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income, and a very happy new year. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton. And Dave, it's great to see you again. Did you have a great New Year's? Did you celebrate?
I did. Did you?
I did. I had a great time staying at home. Of course, I think I've been at home the last, 10, 15 years. I don't like to go out on New Year's. There's way too much traffic.
I know. It's like amateur night of it. We were down in Marathon in the Keys and enjoying that. It was very nice.
Watch the fireworks.
I just can't believe it's 2026 anymore. I mean, I remember, being young and saying, well, how old will you be in 60 years? Like 2025. I'm like, oh gosh, 60 years old. What's going on? And now it's 2026. Anyway.
Feels like it was just a few days ago that we were doing this show last year and talking about New Year's resolutions. And I think it's a great time to talk about what they should be, really. If you haven't made any yet, you still have some time here. But really, the New Year's resolutions that everyone should be making when it comes to their finances, especially if you're at retirement age or even in retirement.
So I shouldn't sign up and commit to a full year gym membership if I'm not going to use it, or
maybe not. That might not be a great way to spend your money. I mean, that's one of the things I know a lot of us do, right? We actually, I joke about that with my husband Justin. We call it the fat tax, right? That's what you're paying, the fat tax when you have the gym membership. You're paying $50 a month and you're not using it.
Oh, I love it. It's so true. Every year, going to the gym because I go all the time, and then of course New Year's. You get a few weeks where everyone's there. It's kind of, I call it amateur night, although it's probably not fair. But you think about that. People always say, "Well, I want to lose weight in the new year" and things like that. But how about when it comes to your money, right? Some of the things we often hear are, "I want to save more money. I want to have a plan to get my debts paid down. I want to take a deep dive on my investments because I'm within 10 years of retirement. I really need to look closely and see whether or not they're aligned with where they should be. I just haven't had the time to do it." Or maybe I need to redo my estate plan. The kids are grown and we have the same will we did when the kids were 2 and 3 years old, right? Those are some examples of some of those popular really financial goals that people put on for New Year's resolutions.
Yep. And because we were doing the show today and talking about setting those New Year's resolutions, we actually created a financial year-end checklist that we are going to make available. We'll put it on our website, incomeradio.com, and you can download it absolutely for free, but it will help you make sure that your finances are in order, and it's an actual checklist, so it's interactive and you can use it just to help yourself get organized before the beginning of the year. And if you're interested, again, you can get that for free by going to incomeradio.com. And thank you for spending some time here with us this weekend on Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton, and we are going over some of the common New Year's resolutions, but more specifically, the New Year's resolutions that you should make about your finances for those that are nearing retirement or in retirement. And Dave, some of those things, just in general, people would like to lose weight, get a little bit more fit in the new year. People like to pay down debt. Other people want to save more money, or they want to get their estate plans in order. They want to get their legacies figured out. And those are things that you should really do sooner rather than later.
Well, you should. And, if the New Year's is the time that triggers you because it's an event, it's on the calendar to get focused, well, then let's use it to your advantage, right? Paying off debts. Debt for a while wasn't as big of a deal because interest rates were so low. You can go from one credit card to zero interest on another to zero interest on a third. Car loans were at zero interest. It was easy. But that's not the case anymore. We're back to normal environment where people actually have to pay interest, right? Mortgages aren't at 3.5% anymore. They're closer to 7%. So the first thing is obviously credit card debt. And there's two ways to pay down this type of debt. One is to prioritize the highest interest rate credit cards first. The other one is to prioritize the highest payment credit cards first that have the highest payment as a percentage of the balance. The theory being that it may not be the highest interest rates, but if you can put more money toward that and get it paid off within a few months, that's all the extra cash flow you have for other credit cards. And both could make sense. Both could work. The key is to get on a disciplined approach to get that credit card debt paid off, because if you're retired or within 10 years of retirement, first of all, if you're retired, you don't want to have the credit card debt because it's not just what you make in retirement, it's what you keep, right? So if you could keep money from having to go out the window unnecessarily for paying interest, well, then you're better off. If you're within 10 years of retirement, well, you might want to do catch-up features on your Roth IRA contributions or on your 401k, and the credit card debt might be stopping you from doing that. So the sooner you can get it paid off, the better off it is.
All right, Dave, so we talked a little bit about mortgages and credit card debt, but what about car loans specifically?
Well, again, car loans are back up at a normal rate of interest. And, to me, once you get credit card debts paid off, the next thing to chip away at is car loans. Can you get a car loan prepaid? Or do you have a home equity line of credit where maybe you can, for one time, finance it in that line of credit and pay just interest only and hopefully have it be tax deductible, depending upon your situation, and save a lot of payment. The whole reason, of course, is so that when you go into retirement, you're set up to pay cash for cars and not finance them. And it's like my client Iraj, a story I always talk about, from the Middle East. And he, back in the 80s when I first met him, and we talked about the fact he had no debt. In fact, it's actually against the Muslim faith to have debt. But then we were going over his budget. He said, well, this is my car payment. And I said, wait a minute. I thought you said you didn't have anything. And he said, well, I don't. He goes, I've gotten the habit of saving for my next car. And he quickly realized that if he saved for the next car and earned a few dollars versus paying a loan in arrears and paying a few dollars of interest, his permanent, quote, car payment, in his case, saving for the next car in advance, would be about 1/3 less. So instead of $400 a month in arrears, it's probably $250 a month in advance. Yep. So if you have to get that paid off once, even by financing in a line of credit, great. But then save in advance for your next car. Mortgages, same thing, right? We talk about even mortgages. I need to have a mortgage. I need tax deductions in retirement. Well, under the Trump tax code, first of all, a lot of people cannot really deduct their interest. They cannot itemize. But even if you can, it's not about that. It's about how much cash flow from your investments you need to take to make the mortgage payment. Remember, the mortgage payment also has a principal component. So it's not just to say, oh, I'm paying 4% interest on my old mortgage. If I'm earning more than 4%, I'm ahead. Well, no. What you're earning in interest and dividends, hopefully it's 4% plus, what you're earning in interest and dividends has to satisfy both the interest and the principal payment on that mortgage. So for most people, having a goal to have the mortgage paid off in retirement is a good goal.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about investing for income, right? Just like your client Iraj, but you can actually use investing for income. You can use it to pay for things in the future, right? Especially if you don't need the money right now. If you're not retired right now, you can reinvest it and grow your portfolio organically. If you're maybe 5 years out or so. That's
right. If you're 5 years out, you can certainly reinvest the interest and dividends to buy more shares, to grow it the old-fashioned way, as we say, grow it organically, as you just said, Sarah. But again, the goal is to be debt-free and start with the highest stuff, the credit cards, go to the car loans, and ultimately try to get that mortgage paid off if you can before retirement. Why? Because then what you might want to do is you might want to catch up. You might want to sprint at the very end and put more money away. If you don't have an emergency fund, you may want to build up that emergency fund. Or what you might want to do if you have an emergency fund is put more into your 401k or Roth IRA. And coming up, we're going to cover how you can tell where to put this extra savings as you start to approach retirement. I'm David Scranton here with Sarah Samuels, and you're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income.
Welcome back to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton. And if you have not set your New Year's resolution yet, don't worry. We're talking about some financial New Year's resolutions that you can make on today's show. Dave, so far we've talked a little bit about the normal resolutions, right? Paying down debt, getting your affairs in order, like estate planning and legacy planning, also paying down those credit cards and looking at your car loan or even potentially your mortgage, all depending on where you are in retirement. And you mentioned something about catch up, how there's some ways that you can catch up if you're a little behind the eight ball with retirement planning.
Sure. And, there's a few different things, right? A lot of people have a lot of money sitting in a 401k. They're lopsided. So there's three types of money from a tax standpoint, right? There's taxable investments where you get a 1099 every year on the interest. Then there's tax-deferred investments like 401ks, traditional IRAs. There's tax-free investments like Roth IRAs. In an ideal world, you want to be diversified. So you have to look and say, where am I strong and where am I not, right? So if you're overloaded in tax-deferred investments like 401ks and you don't have an emergency fund, well, now it's a problem. Why? Because you need to buy a car in retirement or repair your roof or driveway in retirement, and now you got to take out money from your 401k. So
that means selling shares, essentially, right?
Well, and paying
liquidity.
tax.
Right, and then paying the tax on it.
So if you have a bill that's $20,000, now you have to take out almost $30,000 to end up with $20,000 after tax, right? So if you're lopsided that way, start saving your emergency fund. Start accruing it, right? If you're lopsided that way, you might also want to do some Roth IRA contributions. Or again, catch-up features if you're over the age of 50, where you could put a little bit more into your Roth IRA. If you're earning too much income to do a traditional Roth IRA, you could do what we call the backdoor Roth IRA, where you do a non-deductible traditional IRA, and then you convert it to a Roth IRA, right? So either way, there's ways to get some money in that tax-free bucket. Well, what if you want to really, if you're behind the 8 ball in retirement income and you want to catch up there, well, then putting more money in your 401k can help because that gives you tax leverage, right? So now you have catch-up features again after the age of 50 where you could put more in that 401k. So you might say, well, what if I can't afford to do it? Well, what if now we change the rules here? Instead of being lopsided toward that tax-deferred bucket and not having an emergency fund, let's say you've got money in taxable accounts, whether it's a bank account, emergency fund, or whether it's in a brokerage account, but you now want to put more into your 401k tax deductively to, why does that make sense? Because if you're trying to catch up on retirement, well, every dollar you put in there only costs you 60 or 70 cents of take-home income because the government's matching you. So now you say, okay, I want to catch up, but I can't afford it. Well, what do? Well, maybe you max that out. And if you need to supplement your lifestyle a little bit, you do it out of the taxable account. You take a little bit of money out of savings to supplement your take-home pay, or a little bit out of your regular taxable brokerage account to supplement your take-home pay. So now you're using that tax leverage by maxing out those pre-tax contributions and taking advantage of the government's, essentially the government's matching. So again, the key here is to get the debt paid off so that you can put money away and catch up, but put it away in the proper bucket, the one of the three that is the most efficient. So you get yourself more tax balanced, tax diversified, if you will, in retirement.
And that's one of the items that we included in our financial year-end checklist. It's a white paper, a guide that we put together exclusively for the listeners of our show. And you can get that guide absolutely for free by going to incomeradio.com, where you can download it. And I encourage you to download that checklist just so you can make sure that your finances are in order as we start the new year. And thank you for listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton, and we're talking about some New Year's resolutions, specifically those that you can make to get your finances a little bit stronger in 2026. So, Dave, we've talked about paying down your debt, paying off your loans, saving more money, making sure you're diversified and where you're saving in your accounts. But one of the most important things, too, is to do a deep dive into your investments, especially for folks out there that are maybe 5 years out from retirement. Really take a look at how you're allocated and if you're working with the right advisor for your stage of life.
Yeah, the most dangerous time to not have the right investment allocation is the 10 years leading up to retirement and the first 10 years of retirement. That's where if you're not allocated properly and something goes wrong in the financial markets and you take a bigger hit, it's almost impossible to recover from. If the markets do well early in life and you have failure, in your later years, it's not necessarily the end of the world, or if you have failure in your younger years. So it's those 10 years on each side that are so important. And Sarah, as you know, as we always talk about in the show, the most important thing is gradually switching, starting roughly, hopefully 10 years out of retirement to an income first, capital appreciation second mindset. Because many advisors, and just, what was it, just a couple weeks ago, we did a show on how to know whether or not you should be grateful for your advisor, right? Whether you have your advisor's doing the right things. And one of the biggest things was, is he making changes for you in those 10 years leading up to retirement? Is that advisor listening to you and figuring out how much income you need in retirement, how much income you want in retirement? And are they adjusting your investments Or are they sticking with the old 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds or so, and just thinking it's fine? Because common sense would probably tell you that the strategies that worked leading up to retirement are probably not the same as the strategies that are going to work in retirement. Why? Because leading up to retirement, you're putting money into your investment accounts on a regular basis. You're putting money into your retirement accounts. In retirement, you're taking it out. You're doing the opposite, right? So if you're doing something opposite, it means that you probably need an opposite strategy. It's like toothpaste. You try to squeeze it off the tube, it works great. You try to get it back in the tube, not so much. So again, in your early years, you just want your money to grow. You don't care whether it comes from the income, the interest and dividends, or from capital appreciation when you buy something and it goes up in value. But as you get close to retirement, switching to an income-first, capital appreciation mindset really makes sense. And if you haven't done it just because you've been too busy and you've put it off, I encourage you now to make that a New Year's resolution. I can't think of anyone, financially speaking, that's more important.
What does it look like when you sit down, and Dave, you can give us your advisor perspective, right? Like, what are you going to talk about during that first meeting with a prospect? You know, what are the things that you would go over in that first meeting?
Well, and that's a good question, because if you've had the same advisor for a long time, you may not have had this conversation recently, because they may have asked you questions about your needs and goals 10 or 20 years ago, but those needs and goals have changed. And if they're not having that conversation on a regular basis, you could be losing out. So it's important not just initially, Sarah, but on an ongoing basis to talk about, what are your needs, what are your wants, what are your goals, and doing a deep dive, doing an x-ray of your retirement accounts and saying, is what's in there matching those needs and goals, right? And so I would always want to know all of that information. And the need goal and the want goal are totally different, because the need goal is, okay, how do I live the same lifestyle I had working in retirement? But retirement means that you have more time on your hands. More time means you're going to want to do more things, which means you're going to spend more money. So now you're going to want your I want goals. And it's funny because most people think they can live on less money in retirement than they had when they're working, because they're subtracting all these expenses that are going to go away. But what they find is that's not true. They find that in most cases they need every bit of that income that they had when they're working, but now it's going toward different things. It's going toward things that are fun. And many people find that they actually need more income in retirement because of all those extra things that they want. So these are the conversations that a good advisor is having every single year in that 10-year range leading up to retirement, and also in the first 5 or 10 years of retirement. Because first few years of retirement, you're still trying to really figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you have a lot of questions. And if you have any questions, we encourage you to give us a call now. Our Ask Dave hotline is open. We're going to be answering your retirement questions in just a few minutes. That phone number is 833-RIS-RADIO. That's 833-747-7234. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton, and you're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. You're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton. And today we're talking about New Year's resolutions, especially those resolutions that you should be thinking about if you're retired or near retirement. So in addition to the normal resolutions that all of us really at any stage in life should be thinking about, right? Like paying down your debt, getting your affairs in order. We've also talked about taking a deep dive into your investments and making sure that you're invested the right way for your right stage of life. And I think a lot of people, they underestimate that, Dave. They underestimate how bad it can get if you're not allocated the right way for your investments and your advisor's using a withdrawal strategy. And you can, next thing you know, you could run out of money. You might have to go back to work in retirement.
Yeah, and most don't know whether their advisor is going to use a withdrawal strategy. The advisor is just saying, hey, we can get you the income you want. But it's important to remember that the word income has a few definitions, right? The first definition is tax, right? Taxable income according to the IRS. The second definition is cash flow, right? How much the advisor can send you on a regular basis. But as we always talk about, this could very well be coming out of principal, and the advisor's crossing his fingers and toes and hoping it grows back. The third definition, the real definition of income, is that renewable resource of interest and dividends, right? Because the growth on your money has two components, income and capital appreciation. Income is those interest and dividends that are very predictable, that spin off on a regular basis. Capital appreciation is much less predictable, when you buy something and it goes up in value. So the income is known return. The capital appreciation is unknown return. The I is something that gets paid to you like a rental income that you don't need to sell anything to get that, whereas the capital appreciation, you need to sell assets and pay tax in order to get that. So it's a big difference, and most never actually ask that question, how are you going to generate this income? How are you defining retirement income for me?
Yep. Well, we have a lot of questions, and thank you for all of our listeners that called in or visited our radio website, incomeradio.com, and left us a question. Let's get into it. We have our first question here from Jared in Wethersfield. He says, we're about to retire, and we're lopsided from a tax perspective. I think we have too much money invested in our 401ks. What should we do? So I assume Jared's talking about maybe him and a partner, a spouse here.
Well, Jared, if you're just about to retire, then you don't have a lot of time to rebalance these accounts, as I'd mentioned before. But it doesn't mean that you cannot rebalance them. You still can. You see, a good income specialist can help you by doing a Roth conversion analysis. Can take a look at those 401k, IRA accounts, those tax-deferred accounts, and help you determine really how you can gradually pay tax on those and transfer those into something that's tax-free like the Roth IRA. And you may say, well, what good does that do? Well, there are taxable income sources that kick in as you proceed through retirement. The first is Social Security, which for many people, most of that is taxable. Then required minimum distributions, which start at age 73, 74, 75, depending upon how old you are today, which force you to take distributions from 401ks and IRAs and pay tax on them. So before those two things, you have a window to plan. And a good income specialist, a good advisor, can help you determine and maybe say, hey, postpone Social Security to age 70. You'll get a lot more anyway if you postpone it. And that gives you more room to do these Roth conversions because, you can, today, you can be in the 12% tax bracket and with your partner being married and having over $100,000 of income and still be in that 12% bracket. Then you go up a little bit from there and you're only at 22 or 24. It's not bad. The problem is once the required minimum distributions come in and the Social Security comes in, you might find that you're in a much, much higher tax bracket. Or, God forbid, you pass this on to your children. They might be in their highest earning years and they might be in even a higher tax bracket. So some careful planning will really help you get diversified even if you feel like you've waited too long. Because I'm here to tell you that you haven't. And that's why just 2 weeks ago we did a show about how to know if you're with the right financial advisor. Because if your financial advisor is just doing investments and can't do an in-depth tax planning or in-depth Roth conversion analysis, then I would maintain that advisor is only doing part of what they should be doing.
Jared, thank you so much for sending in your question. And if you have a retirement question, we would love to hear from you. Go to our website. That's incomeradio.com. You can submit it there. You can also give us a call. If you're in your car right now, we'd love to hear from you. That phone number is 833-747-7234. Our next question here comes from Henry in West Hartford. He says, I want to get some estate planning paperwork done. How do financial advisors help with this?
All right, Henry, great question. And again, a true financial advisor should be able to help. And like I said a couple weeks ago, for example, if you're a certified financial planner, right? And you don't have to be a certified financial planner to know this, but you have to study about investments, about insurance, about different retirement plans like 401ks, but also about income tax planning and estate tax planning. A good advisor has some knowledge in all those areas. And I find that sometimes estate planning attorneys look at things in a microcosm. And that's when things can fall through the cracks because you're a financial advisor. If they're really coordinating all these departments, need to know and help guide where all these other things are going. So some financial advisors actually have an estate planning person in-house. Other financial advisors have a relationship with estate planning attorneys, whether virtual or in person, where they can help coordinate what it should look like with those attorneys. So again, that primary care doctor has their finger on the pulse and all the specialists are reporting back to that primary care doctor. Now, if not, at bare minimum, that true financial advisor can work with your estate planning attorney by knowing what your goals are and what your wishes are for disposition of assets when you're gone, for care, and for all these important things. Have you planned for long-term care, home health care, or any of that? When your financial advisor does a good job and has all that information, they should be part of that meeting with the estate planning attorney to make sure that everything is moving in the right direction. So financial advisors can help in many, many ways. Those are just a few.
Yep. Henry, thank you so much for sending in your Ask Dave question. And again, we appreciate everyone that has submitted Ask Dave questions, whether you've done it through our website, incomeradio.com, or if you've called our Ask Dave hotline. Again, that phone number is 833-747-7234. And if you're looking for more information about an income specialist, if you're interested in working with one of our retirement income source income specialists around the country, just give us a call. We can also help put you in touch with the right person in your area. Again, that's 833-747-7234.
You know, Sarah, it's interesting. I think the problem here is, and we don't understand this because we're in the financial services industry, but, you know, a lot of people would rather go to a dentist than go to a financial advisor. They find it stressful. And unfortunately, and that's unfortunate, and part of it's because there are some bad apples in our industry who are not fiduciaries, who are just financial salespeople. So it's a little bit of buyer beware. Which is why you always want to be working with a fiduciary as a financial advisor, right? Who has your best interest in mind. But also, I think because for most people, finances are a little overwhelming. Yeah. They're scary.
It's intimidating.
And, and whether it's like Henry with the estate planning, where you just don't want to talk about being dead, right?
Right,
so,
that could be a little more.
Okay, I'm dead, now what I'm going to do? So you don't want to face that. It's too hard to face. And, you know, the same thing is true when it comes to investments a lot of times, because a lot of times people feel like they just haven't saved enough. And sometimes they're right. But, you know, I'm here to tell you that burying your head in the sand is never the answer. If you think you haven't saved enough, well, one of two things could happen when you check it out, right? Either you find out, hey, I'm wrong, I've done okay, or maybe I've got a little gap to fill, but I can get there, right? Or at least it confirms that you haven't saved enough and you have a plan to get there at some point down the road. So New Year's resolution, my best encouragement, please, 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 and please hear me on this, don't bury your head in the sand. Hit this head on and make 2026 the year to do so.
And no matter what happens, we hope you keep listening to the Retirement Income Source, because it's always all about your income and how to maximize your income on this show.
And we hope you're with us here next week and through 2026. I'm David Scranton here with Sarah Samuels, and you're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income.